Somewhere there is a pond for everyone. To know a pond is to know a special, wonderful world. Ponds influence and are influenced by their surroundings. They are like living things. They change, develop, grow old, and eventually die. There are mountain ponds and forest ponds. Farm ponds and beaver ponds. Ponds are for all seasons, for summer, fall, winter, and spring. Ponds are for moonlight and for sunlight, most especially for sunlight, because it is sunlight that makes the plants grow. The pond environment affects a wide area and influences what trees and plants will grow. Trees that flourish in fairly moist pond-side areas include larch, willow, birch, poplar, and alder, which often grows right at the water's edge. Pond banks sometimes have jewelweed, also known as touch-me-not. Jewelweed seed pods are very special. When touched, they spring open, scattering the seeds. There are also such shoreside plants as ferns, reeds, mosses, cattails, and cardinal flower, with its spectacular deep red bloom. While most plants make their food through photosynthesis, the strange-looking sundew that lives along the shore also catches and consumes live food. It is carnivorous. It catches insects in sticky traps that attract them, then close up tightly when they alight. This pitcher plant, found in boggy pond side areas, also eats insects. The insects slide down slippery hairs in the pitcher and drown in water collected there when the hairs prevent them from getting out. The blooms of the pitcher plant develop at the end of a tall stem. Carnivorous plants like these grow where soil is poor in nourishment. They have to supplement their diet with animal matter. There are carnivorous water plants too. This bladderwort supplements its diet with minute pond creatures, plankton, tiny invertebrate animals of many kinds. Wort means plant, and the bladders are the little air sacs all over the underwater part of the plant. Each sac is about 1/16 of an inch in size and is used to catch and digest its prey. Some pond plants, like duckweed, water hyacinth, which looks like this when it blooms, and the algae float freely on the pond surface. But most have roots that go below the surface into the mud. Plants in a pond arrange themselves according to how much sunlight they need and the depth of the water they can tolerate. Where the water is too deep for the roots to reach the bottom and the leaves to reach the surface, these plants cannot grow. This pond plant, pickerel weed, grows in water about 6 inches deep. It is really an edge plant, one of the first to appear as a pond fills in. Pickerel weed has spikes of purple flowers and long pointed leaves, thought to resemble the pickerel fish, hence its name. This plant is spatterdock, one of the water lilies. It is found in deeper water. It has big, rounded leaves that float on the surface in the sunlight. The spatterdock bloom never opens wide, like some other water lilies. There may be as many as 50 different plants in a pond, including perhaps variable pondweed, floating heart, and arrowhead. All are important because they provide food and shelter for various pond creatures. Along with plants, ponds are noted for their animal life, both above and below the surface. The smallest of these make up the plankton, the mass of tiny animals that is one of the foundation links of the food chain. This ostracod, a tiny crustacean the size of a pinhead, is one of the larger plankton. Most plankton are microscopic in size. Ordinarily, you would not be aware of them. Many different kinds of plankton are shown in this model of a drop of pond water seen through a microscope. Plankton feed on bits of plant matter primarily and are enormously abundant in a healthy pond. In turn, the higher forms of animal life could not exist without them. Here are two other relatively small pond creatures, a water beetle and a damselfly nymph. Like the bladderwort we saw earlier, they also feed on plankton. The water beetle has to breathe air to get oxygen, but he lives underwater most of the time and must get his food there. So he carries a bubble of air down with him and wraps himself in it, almost like a deep-sea diver. Other beetles also feed upon the plankton in the pond. Because it chases down other small animal life and preys on it, this one is called the predaceous diving beetle. There is also the water scavenger beetle, seen here reflected in the underside of the water surface as he comes up to breathe. The giant water bug breathes by extending an air tube through the water to the surface. Many immature insects also live underwater. Here is a damselfly nymph. It lives and feeds underwater only during this stage of its life. When it becomes adult, it leaves its juvenile skin and home behind and rises into the air. Damselflies are charming and come in different colors. They feed on small insects they catch in midair. These damselflies are engaged in reproduction as they rest on some variable pondweed. Dragonflies are closely related to damselflies. They are larger and hold their wings out sideways when resting, not over their back as do damselflies. Dragonflies also spend their youth beneath the pond surface, becoming airborne only when they molt and shed their juvenile skin. This is the cast-off nymph case of a dragonfly that has grown to maturity. Usually dragonflies alight on twigs or branches over the pond or on floating pond plants where they can have a good view. Then, with their enormous eyes, they keep watch for the mosquitoes and other insects that make up their diet. Like damselflies, they catch these in midair. There are many other insects whose life cycle depends on the pond. This mayfly lives beneath the surface until it changes into an adult. Then it takes wing for a few short hours to mate, lay eggs, and die. The pesky mosquito hatches from eggs laid in shallow areas, and its larvae develop there. In ponds, you will often find caddisfly larval cases made of little sticks and other scraps cemented together. These larval cases look simply like plant debris on the pond bottom. Yet inside the case lives the caddisfly larva while it develops into maturity. From time to time, it emerges to feed and pull itself, case and all, along the bottom. This bright red insect larva, called a bloodworm, is also the juvenile form of a fly. It too takes to the air once it matures. As if by magic, water striders are kept afloat by the surface tension of the water where their feet touch. Because there is death as well as life in the pond, those creatures who feed on pond debris, dead matter, and the sick or injured, the scavengers, are vital. These include such animals as snails, crayfish, turtles, and fish. Together, they help keep a pond clean and healthy. This little cluster of approximately 30 pink pearls is an egg mass. It is about 6 inches above the water level. There are many other clumps in the vicinity. They are pink when they first appear and get whiter as they develop. They are egg masses deposited by apple snails. As they start to develop, they look like this. When the young hatch, they drop into the water. Eventually, they grow to be 2 inches in size. Like the snails in a fish tank, these apple snails move slowly on their muscular foot, feeding on the algae that grows on every surface in a pond. This close-up shows the mouth parts of the snail as it scours a furrow through the algae and other detritus, speeding the recycling of organic matter. There are other kinds of snails to be found in ponds as well, such as these ram's horn snails. They are about 3/8 of an inch in diameter and also feed on organic debris. Like the plankton and insects we've seen, snails too are an important part of the food chain and are eaten by other animals. Certain birds in the south, the limpkin seen here, and the Everglades kite eat almost nothing but water snails. This fellow with the menacing claws is a crayfish called crawdad by some. He may be 3 or more inches long and light or dark in color. In many parts of the country, he is considered a delicacy. Crayfish, too, are scavengers who help keep the pond clean. They feed on plankton, plant debris, and dead animal matter. The crayfish is the world champion crustacean tunneler, digging down 20 or more feet to hibernate. When threatened, he swims backwards in quick darts, keeping his strong claws toward the enemy. He uses his tail to propel himself and seems to find it better to see who is chasing him than where he is headed. Closely related to the crayfish is the freshwater shrimp, who also scavenges on pond debris. Both shrimp and crayfish are food for other pond creatures, such as fish and turtles, raccoons and otters. These creatures, too, are scavengers, at least part-time. This mud turtle lives and feeds among water plant roots in the muck on the bottom. Another pond scavenger and bottom feeder is the catfish, or bullhead, who feels along the bottom with his sensitive whiskers, called barbels, for bits of food. Of course, ponds have other kinds of fish, too. This bright-eyed fellow is a spotted sunfish. He's not very big, 3 inches overall, but he is energetic and much a part of his pond. For many people, this is the first fish they ever catch. Sunfish eat minnows, worms, and insects. Catfish, sunfish, minnows, all may be eaten in turn by bigger fish, such as the largemouth bass. Bass become quite big if the pond they live in is rich in food. They are high up the food chain and eat, in addition to smaller fish and insects, frogs, crayfish, and other living things. When bass court and spawn, that is, lay eggs, they rub together side by side over a particular spot in the shallow part of a pond that they have chosen for their nest. They sweep the area clear of silt, and here the eggs are deposited and fertilized. Very often a bass will stay and guard the nest and chase off any other fish that threaten the eggs. Notice the stripes and spots on the fish. They don't have those all the time, only when spawning. Sometimes people don't realize they are the same fish. The American eel, another fish commonly found in ponds, has a unique life pattern. It spawns and is hatched in the Sargasso Sea, then migrates inland to ponds, traveling up streams and ditches. Ponds in different areas have different kinds of fish. Colder northern ponds have pickerel, for instance. Warmer southern ponds have carp, originally introduced from Asia, and long-nosed gar. All are end products of the pond, final links in the food chain leading from the smallest to the largest. The swampy, shallow, plant-filled areas of ponds are home for numberless frogs and toads. Nightly during the spring, one can hear their many searching voices. They call to find mates so they can provide fertile eggs for a future generation. The eggs are fertilized as they are laid, in long rope-like strands. Then the parent frogs go their separate ways. Each jelly-like strand contains many small individual eggs. These egg masses are rocked gently by the ripples and warmed by the sun until they hatch into myriad tadpoles. Tadpoles are baby frogs or toads. They are dark and look like they have big heads and long, thin tails. Really, it is head, stomach, and tail, for tadpoles eat. Mostly they eat algae. A few are cannibalistic and eat each other. They grow several times the size they were when hatched. Usually, by the time 6 weeks have gone by, they have grown back feet. In most cases, by 10 weeks, front feet and lungs have developed, and the frog becomes amphibious, able to move onto land even before his tail is completely absorbed. Big mature frogs often sit looking confidently out over the surface of the algae. When an insect comes close, zap, out goes the frog's tongue and down goes a meal. In addition to frogs, there are other amphibians and reptiles to be found in ponds. Salamanders, snakes, alligators, and turtles. Like frogs, they are all poikilothermic. Their body temperature is determined by the temperature of their surroundings. In general, salamanders tend to be poor swimmers and spend much of their time on the bottom or under stones. Salamanders are often overlooked because they are nocturnal and shy. North America has more different varieties than all the rest of the world put together. Most are gentle and harmless. However, the rarely seen Amphiuma of the southeast is an exception. Large, dark, and concealed in a coat of gray slime, it hides in wait amid debris on the pond bottom and bites savagely. Both immature and adult salamanders have teeth and feed on insects, small invertebrates, tadpoles, insect and fish eggs, and small fish. Some salamander eggs are fertilized internally, others externally like frogs and toads. Those of the spotted salamander are laid in clumps underwater. Others, like those of the smallmouth salamander, are hung above the water. If you look carefully, you can see the larvae developing in the eggs. When salamander eggs hatch, the larvae or tadpoles have legs and look more like adults than do frog or toad tadpoles. Although not very pretty, some larvae grow quite large. During the larval stage, salamanders breathe through gills, the fringes behind the head. This tiger salamander larva, common in farm ponds, will eventually mature into a large blotched salamander. The red-spotted newt is a salamander with an unusual and complex life history. The larva transforms into a red eft, seen here, and spends from 1 to 3 years on land in moist forest areas. When mature, it changes color and returns to the water to take up an aquatic existence. It can remain active all winter, even beneath the ice. Few predators eat newts because their skin gland secretions are toxic or irritating. Ponds also have snakes, of course, natural parts of the animal community. Non-poisonous for the most part, as is this common water snake. But in certain areas of the country, poisonous cottonmouth moccasins are found. It is best to be careful. Water snakes usually lie in wait for their prey: frogs, salamanders, insects, injured or sick fish, or other small animals. By eating them, snakes help prevent the spread of disease. Some snakes are good swimmers, like this hognose snake, who feeds on frogs and toads. The hognose snake has an interesting defense. It plays dead when molested. For some reason, this causes its enemies to lose interest in it. Water snakes are not always in the water. Like turtles, they must lay their eggs on land and like to bask in the sun. Often they travel from pond to pond, able to leave the water because they are air breathers. Sometimes you can find marks of their passing, like this freshly shed snakeskin rubbed loose on the rough gravel. Alligators, one of our endangered species, are sometimes to be found in ponds in such states as Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas. They are large members of the reptile family, dependent on the entire food chain for their survival. Gars, predators themselves, are an important food for alligators. But alligators happily eat all kinds of pond creatures. Most ponds also have water turtles as permanent residents. The wood turtle, a forest dweller during warm weather, hibernates in groups beneath the pond surface in winter, protected from freezing. Unlike fish, turtles do not have gills, but are air breathers. Periodically, they have to surface to fill their lungs. There are several kinds of turtles common to ponds, like this soft shell turtle with its flexible snout and nasty disposition, the Pacific pond turtle, and its eastern relative, the spotted turtle. Most that are seen feed on small aquatic life and plants. Many belong to the group called sliders, such as this painted turtle and this algae-covered red-bellied terrapin. On a sunny day, sliders climb out on logs or rocks to sun themselves. They may spend nearly all day basking in the sun. The sun not only warms them, but the vitamin D it provides helps them assimilate calcium for shell building. They are called sliders because whenever danger threatens, they quickly slide off their perch into the water where they are safe. Big snapping turtles are also sometimes found in ponds. They are not sliders and seldom bask in the sun. Like snakes and other reptiles, all turtles must lay their eggs on land. Here is a big female snapper with her round white egg and a dime for size comparison. Turtle eggs are rubbery, not brittle like birds' eggs. Turtles lay their eggs in nests dug into the sand of the pond bank. When a turtle egg starts to hatch, it looks like this. Eventually, the turtle escapes from the flexible shell like this baby soft shell. At first, the young hatchling absorbs nourishment from the yolk sac attached to the plastron. By the time the yolk sac is completely absorbed, leaving only a small diamond-shaped area, the turtle is strong enough to find its own food. As this destroyed nest of eggs shows, laying eggs on shore makes them vulnerable to predation. Various land animals, like raccoons and skunks, prowl the pond shores in search of a meal. Much bird life also centers around ponds. The plants, insects, and other invertebrates inhabiting the pond are important food sources for ducks, geese, and other water birds. When migrating during the spring and fall, These birds search out ponds along their path to feed and rest. Wild ducks need pond and marsh areas in which to breed and nest. A plentiful food supply is especially important when there are young to raise. Even the colorful wood duck, who nests high in a tree, finds his food at the pond. The wading birds, the cranes, herons, and storks, also depend on pond areas. These rare sandhill cranes have made their home beside a Florida pond, which they share with local cattle. The great blue heron, who raises its large, ungainly young in a nest of sticks, needs the pond. Like many wading birds, its eyes are designed for looking downward. These birds are used to keeping a solitary vigil while they look for food. The little blue heron searches diligently for a fishy meal. This American egret has found one at the edge of a pond and struggles to get it heading the right way down. This endangered wood stork has been successful too. Of course, ponds are also important to land animals who drink or get food from them, like this moose. Otters are sleek, quick animals, more at home in the water than out. They swim swiftly enough to catch fish and frogs. Ponds are important to them, too, of course. Ponds are important to beavers, too. And beavers are important because they help create ponds by their dam building. Beavers are vegetarians and eat the bark of shrubs and trees, especially poplar that grow beside the streams. Often they cut down quite big trees along the shore to get their food supply. They methodically gather all the usable parts, leaves, bark, and limbs, and carry them away. After eating the bark, they use the peeled sticks to make their dams and lodges. This causes the stream to back up and form a beaver pond. Often beavers carry mud and stones to the dam to reinforce it. Muskrats and beavers like the same habitat and often are found together. Although muskrats are omnivorous and eat fish and crustaceans, their favorite food is cattails. The flooded area of a beaver pond is frequently swampy and filled with plants and trees that are killed by the rising water. Ponds are temporary, not permanent. The drowned plants, the fallen trees and other shoreside vegetation, the leaves and stems of plants that die back in autumn, all fall into the pond and tend to fill it in. As this plant debris accumulates, augmented by soil washed down, new plants that are more at home on land begin to take hold. If their growth goes unchecked, eventually there will be a pond no more. All the creatures of a pond depend on a whole chain of interrelated lives. The plankton, the plants, the insects, the snails, the crayfish, the fish, the frogs, the water. Without these, none would stop or feed or nest here. To know a pond is to know an interrelated community, a world in itself. Remove or damage any element in it, and you harm them all.